Hi, I'm Anna. I'm a compulsive overeater. Very grateful to be abstinent and also to have the opportunity to share on step 4, this fourth month of the year. And I thought I should qualify first. I'm abstinent, and my abstinence date is December 8th, 1980. Very grateful one day at a time that it works. So on page 59, if you have the big book, you might want to just follow. I will be jumping around in it a bit, but start by just reading step 4. The short little version here. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. And my first sponsor always said, Anna, look up the words. You have no clue what that means. Searching, fearless, moral, inventory, assume nothing. So I did that fresh in preparation for today. And searching means looking into or over carefully and thoroughly in an effort to discover something, as opposed to I have to, I'm looking to discover things about myself in step 4, and it's to be thorough and careful, which means care, with care. The second word, fearless, brave, undaunted, gutsy, courageous. And it helps me remember courage is fear that said its prayers. So as opposed to I have no fear in fearless, I'm brave or courageous, which means I might have fear, but I say my prayers and I move on with the help of a higher power, which I've just made in step 3, made the decision to turn my will and my life over to. So I am now totally trusting that higher power as I move forward in a courageous and brave effort. Moral. One definition of moral is perceptual or psychological in nature rather than tangible. This inventory is about my head. And it's psychological. It's my perceptions. I'm looking at what they are to begin to understand them. In step 2, we learn that we were insane. We want to be restored to sanity, and that's mental stuff. So step 3 is accepting the spiritual solution, so that I can then in step 4 examine this stuff up here, the psychological, and perceptual nature. And it's related to principles of right and wrong in behavior, learning where I have been defective or wrong, to use that kind of judgmental word, the acceptance of, yeah, I have been wrong, and learning, moving into acceptance of that rather than, don't tell me I've ever been wrong. Well, that's what step 4 does. It set out. And then the inventory is just a list of traits, preferences, attitudes, interests, and abilities used to evaluate personal characteristics or skills. And that's the inventory or definition. So I thought I'd just share those that my first sponsor would always say, just look it up. Don't trust Anna's little brain dictionary, which probably is not reliable. So the instructions for step 4 begin on page 63. Again, the Alcoholics Anonymous book, right at the bottom. So I've just said the step 3 prayer. I've just taken step 3, and it says, if this was only a beginning, though if honestly and humbly made, that's step 3. An effect, sometimes a very great one, was felt at once, and then next we launched out. It doesn't say, and then we feel good for a while, or we rest on our laurels, or we just go, oh my gosh, now I'm in touch with God, everything's fine, I'll just follow my food plan. We launch out. We just, like a cabin cruiser, launch out on a course of vigorous action. Vigorous is we work hard in my experience, and well, that's what it says here. We work hard in step 4. It's not like, oh, this is easy. It's weeding an old garden that's completely overgrown, and that's hard work, and you need tools to do it, and faith that it can be done. The first step of which is a personal house cleaning. And actually, the vigorous action is step 4, and then for the rest of our lives, but particularly step 4. So this is the house cleaning, the inventory, which page 64, which many of us had never attempted. And as my garden, my life was just completely overgrown. I couldn't, yeah. Though our decision was a vital and crucial step, that's step 3, the decision to turn our will and our life over to the care of a higher power, vital, critical. It had little permanent effect unless at once. Again, not on Saturday, or well, today is Saturday, but not a week from now, not on, the next time I'm free. It's right now, today, followed by strenuous effort. Okay, we said vigorous action. Now we're saying strenuous effort means the same thing. You're going to work hard to face, to look at, and that's that, psychological stuff. We're going to be thorough and honest, and we're going to look at its examination. It's like a doctor trying to find out what's wrong. They don't go, oh, I don't want to look at that horrible pussy sore. They look closely because they're trying to figure out what's the problem here. And that's what we do. And we may recoil from some of the things that we are looking at ourselves, but we look anyway. And that's where the phrase for me, my feelings are none of my business. If I'm going, oh, this is too painful, or oh, I don't want to look at that, or oh, I was so horrible, or oh, they were so horrible. Okay, so that's how I feel. Big deal. Do I want to get well, or do I want to stay sick? And if I want to get well, I'm going to look. With the help of I'm already in the care of a higher power. If I've taken step 3, I believe that. So it's not going to be permanently damaging for me to move forward into step 4. And I've got a sponsor who's encouraging me and supporting me. And so we face it, and then we make an effort to be rid of them. And that's what this whole process is about. The things in ourselves which had been blocking us. Blocking what? Blocking us from having a relationship from a higher power. Our food was but a symptom, so we had to get down to causes and conditions. And at this point, I'd been abstinent about a month when I completed step 3. And so the food was removed. It'd been removed for longer than ever in my life, the overeating. I'd never been eating sanely for 4 weeks or 4 or 5 weeks before. And we had to get down to the causes and conditions, as opposed to everything's fine now. My food's fine now. No, it's at once. I've got to start looking for the stuff that made it impossible for me to maintain that abstinence, or it will disappear again. Therefore, we started upon a personal inventory. This is step 4. And then it talks about what it is. An inventory is fact-finding, fact-facing. One object is just as the next paragraph. One object is to disclose damaged or unsaleable goods. We don't have to disclose those which are saleable. They're going to be shining through. It's like taking out the weeds, and then the flowers are going to be there. I don't have to identify the flowers initially. I need to pull out the weeds, and the flowers are there when the weeds come out. The good things are there when I remove the bad stuff. If I just look at the good stuff and don't clear away the bad stuff, I'll be still searching. Where's that good stuff in there? Where that's what's left as a result of this. And I saw that in other people who were recovered, and asked them, how did they do step 4? And they said, you're clearing away your defects. Your assets will glow afterwards. They will arise. They will be there. Don't worry about it. And that's the fearless, don't be afraid of, So we're disclosing damaged and unsaleable goods to get rid of them promptly and without regret. And initially I didn't know what that meant, but the morbid reflection, and luckily in step 10, it says we avoid morbid reflection, because I'm going, oh, I was so horrible, and my house is full of stolen goods. I hated everybody. I blamed everybody. So as I started writing everything down, it's like, oh, if I'd known what I knew now, blah, blah, without regret. without regret. That's where it's step 3 is so essential. Because if I don't believe I can turn those feelings over to a higher power, what the heck am I going to do with them? Because I can't control them. I mean, that's
5 minutes left.
Whoa, that's the reason I'm in this program. So we took stock honestly, and first, there's 3 inventories that we do. The first one, page 64, the last paragraph, resentment. We list everybody who, ruined our lives. And we put their names down. I started with my family, and I just put literally a name at the top of a page. I had a loose leaf so I could put pages in and take pages out. My sponsor knew if they were all connected ahead of time, I'd be rewriting it to make it right, so each page had a name at the top. And so if I started with my mother, a month later I could come and add something to my mom's list. I didn't have another name that I'd run into, and she was just really clever on things like that. So I listed all my resentments. As it says, we set them on paper. Institutions, principles, with whom we're angry. Anger and resentment is basically just synonyms for the same thing. It's not going my way, and this person's a total wreck, ruined my life. And then the second inventory is fear on page 67. Notice right at the bottom that the word fear is bracketed. Page 68, top, we reviewed our fears thoroughly. We put them on paper. Second interview. It's a list. It doesn't have to be something we're angry about, or I can be afraid of mice. I don't know, whatever, it doesn't matter. Fear of failure, fear of never getting married was a huge one for me. And then the last one is their sex inventory. At the bottom of 68, it starts talking about it now, about sex. Luckily, it says we all have sex problems. I'm not in this alone. And that's why talking to people who've been through step 4 was so helpful to me, because they say, yeah, you just put down all that stuff that you don't want to ever tell anybody that you did or didn't do. And again, on 69, it says, in the paragraph, we reviewed our conduct. The last line, we got this on paper. That's the sex inventory. And we looked at it. So all 3, I only did one at a time. I didn't work on all 3. I completely completed the resentment one first. And then when I was done, I couldn't think of anything else, which was amazing, because I spent 6 months on these inventories until I was done. The rule of thumb was, because every day that I've been in program, I have worked the step I'm on. I haven't waited till Saturday to work the step I'm on. So if I'm on step 4, that means when I was, every day I had to write down something in my step. Otherwise, I wasn't working the step, because the step is we put this on paper, not just we thought about it. And that was, so for 6 months, every day I wrote something on the 4th step inventories. I only did the first 2 columns on
2
page.
minutes left.
Thanks. On page 65. And it was my sponsor who helped me realize what the defects were. All I knew was I hated my mother, or I hated the president of the United States, or the history, or my religion, or whatever it was. That's all I knew. And so when we sat down to do step 5, she actually helped me do the last 2 columns, the defects, and realizing fear was behind everything. And I wanted to end with the promises on page 70. And it says, if we have been thorough about our personal inventory, have written down a lot. We have listed and analyzed our resentments. We have begun to comprehend their futility and their fatality. We have commenced to see their terrible destructiveness. We have begun to learn tolerance, patience, and goodwill towards all people, even our enemies, for we look on them as sick people. And that's the prayer. There's several prayers on page 67, 68, 69, 70. There's a prayer on every page, at least one, that I use throughout step 4. And we have listed the people we have hurt by our conduct and are willing to straighten out the past if we can. And that was a huge shift for me. I didn't know what was the problem, Anna, and moving into, I want to get this stuff straightened out. And so after step 4 and 5, really just wanting to move into step 9 and make those amends and clear it out, because I'd learned all the wrongs that I had done, and didn't want to go back to the food. So I knew I needed to make those amends and was eager to move forward. And that's how I found it.
Time.
Thank you very much for letting me share.